Hello.
Hi there, Marcia.
Hello. We're not starting the conversation, we're just continuing it.
Absolutely, yes.
I am so happy to have you here today. I mean, I this is a topic that I've wanted to talk about for a long time, and I think it's the same for you. You wanted to have a conversation about burnout, so we were just talking about it as well.
Yeah,
Uh, Tell me again the story. How come you what was the trigger? Tell me about the trigger.
to reach out to you. Well, I was reading one of your fantastic posts some time ago,
Yeah.
and do you remember that some HR person said, I don't really believe in burnout? And I had steam coming out of my ears, and you wrote a fantastic post about it. It really touched me. And I just had to get in contact, and it stayed with me. And I thought, right, we have to have a talk. And of
Yeah.
course, I work with ADHD clients, and there's a lot of overlap. And I noticed that a lot of my ADHD clients, although they don't necessarily come to me with burnout, when I'm finding out about their story, they've had a burnout. And you're thinking, really, I need to speak to an expert about burnout. So I reached out to you, and we've had this amazing few conversations about, well, all of your expertise in burnout, perfectionism, and all of these traits. What can we learn? And this whole thing about the ADHD brain. Are we, are we somehow wired that burnout's inevitable or
Mm,
not? What can
mm,
we learn? And I'm hoping, all of my network, my clients that will be watching this, what can you teach us about how we can manage the perfectionism, the imposter syndrome, but of course,
yeah.
coming from the ADHD perspective. But I think it's just nice for you and I to have a conversation and share some of the issues,
I
the traits and what we can do about it. Basically, what we want, as we've had our conversation, prevention. How can
yeah,
we know what's happening, and what can we share to help our listeners say, this is how I can intervene and help myself. So yeah.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, and I've read so many studies about how people with ADHD they have more chances of struggling with burnout or even with chronic stress. It's not only about burnout, but also with chronic stress. So the studies are there, the research is there. Um, we need to talk more not only about the prevention but also like clarify the symptoms, clarify the traits. Everybody now says they have ADHD, everybody now says they have burnout, and I mean we don't want to misdiagnose ourselves or other people, but also we don't want the case that I was writing about where I don't believe in burnout, I don't believe in this, I don't be, it's not about, it's not a religion, it's not a faith thing,
And
it's
it's not
there's
it's
evidence.
it's not a current trend.
Yeah, it's not a trend.
And I think that the other thing is, and maybe this drove that person's comment, it's too easy for people to say, "Oh, I'm stressed, I'm stressed. Oh, I'm overstressed. I've got a burnout." And what I
Mm.
think is important to start with is to say, what is the distinction between I'm at work, I'm very, very stressed,
Yeah.
then I'm at work, and there's a word in Dutch, but I'm not sure what we'd say in English, but you're in this level of high stress. And what is burnout? And I think that would be really helpful, if because I
Yeah.
think we need to get our definitions right,
Yeah,
not
exactly.
downplaying what burnout is, because I have experienced burnout.
Hmm.
I've lived it, and I know what it feels like, and I know the damage it does to you and how long it takes to recover. So I
Yeah, I
think
know.
it's really helpful, maybe from your perspective and your wisdom, tell us what is the different layers and when is it burnout?
Yeah, 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 yeah. We will get there, but first let's introduce ourselves to the audience because maybe maybe they don't know anything about us. Like who are these ladies and what
Yeah,
are they talking about?
very
So
good point.
go about first. Yeah.
Oh my God, me, I'm just Cinta Noonan. As you can see, I'm an ADHD coach. I run my own practice coaching, general coaching, of course, but specializing ADHD for adults, not for children, for adults. And yeah, I've been doing this for 24 years. And I also do workshops and programs in company as well, helping them know how to deal with all these issues at work. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
love my training and my coaching. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
What about
yeah.
you, Vasya? My fabulous
Psychologist.
Vasya. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, lately I call myself a perfectionism expert because what I notice in all these years that I've been seeing people in my practice and helping them with anxiety, depression, and burnout, I notice that there's a common thread. All of them, they had these unrelenting standards, the
Mm,
fear that they are not going to show up as perfect in front of others, other people's opinion. They were judging themselves really, really harshly, comparing themselves with others. So that common thread is what I call perfectionism. And
totally.
it is really connected with burnout, with anxiety and depression, and also with another category, which I'm not an expert on, but I know with eating disorders.
Oh, of
So
course. Yeah.
we know very well that this is a mindset, and perfectionism is a mindset, um, like a bundle of mindset, behaviors, and really vulnerable, shameful emotions that we're experiencing. And I know that this is really impacting our mental health heavily and in a negative degree. That's why I'm focusing specifically on this mindset, and of course burnout, which is the ultimate, let's say, consequence if we don't get unstuck from this toxic self-sabotaging mindset.
Absolutely. You're totally spot on. And you can see a lot of the things you described, the ADHD traits
Yeah,
are there as well. And there's lots of overlap. So, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So when we're talking about burnout, to go back to your
Yeah.
question, and of course, this is a video that we will will be watching also later. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments. This is a stream that's a video that we're streaming on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So we're going to be on the comments of these platforms also in the future. If you have any questions, and we will respond to that. So to clarify a little bit of burnout, it is defined by ICD-11, which is a diagnostic
Mhm.
a platform, let's say. It's defined as a syndrome conceptualized as a result from chronic workplace stress that hasn't been successfully managed, and it has three dimensions, and I call them umbrella symptoms. These dimensions: the feeling of energy depletion, the increased mental distance, the detachment from our work, and the reduced professional efficacy, the reduced productivity.
Yes.
Even though it says, though, that it's chronic workplace stress, it's not only created by the workplace, and we're going to go back to that yeah, in a few minutes. But it is a syndrome. It's not a mental condition. It has symptoms from anxiety. It can have symptoms also from depression, but it is a syndrome. And that's why sometimes you see that doctors may be a little bit hesitant into diagnosing it.
Mm.
Um, to give you an example, a client that I started working a couple of months ago, she said to me that she was experiencing these symptoms of burnout. And she went to the company doctor, and the company doctor said to her that you're just overworked. You
Mm.
just need a little bit of rest. So when she came to me, not only she had burnout, she had
Wow.
severe burnout, like the at the stage of paralysis.
Wow.
Plus, she also had symptoms of depression with suicidal thoughts.
No. Wow.
And this guy said, "You're just overworked. Just take
Yeah.
some days, off." So sometimes, we're really putting people's lives in danger when we're misdiagnosing and we don't know that burnout is real. It's not a call for attention. It's not an excuse to take some holidays. This is really severe. And people who have gone through that, they never want to go through that again.
Totally. Absolutely.
Never,
Exactly.
never, never, never. Because of the complexity, because of all the symptoms, mental, cognitive symptoms, like your brain is cooked. You cannot
Exactly.
read. People say to me, it takes me half an hour to read one page of a book. You cannot, you're always having these negative thoughts, or you cannot concentrate, you cannot remember things. You don't remember what you were talking about yesterday, what you had for lunch.
Mhm.
um, Emotional symptoms, like feeling either too emotional or feeling numb emotionally, like empty, completely empty, easily irritated, um, feeling very heavy. People describe it heavy, as a heavy feeling that they have. But also the behavioral symptoms. We procrastinate, we cannot sit down and like focus and be productive. We don't want to go out, we isolate, we don't meet our friends. We feel that there's something strange with us. The only thing we do is go to work, come back, eat, watch TV, sleep. That's the main thing. We cannot do more than that.
Or
So it's
not even sleep. I think know for myself, if it
yes,
gets to the point where it disturbs your sleep and you're not
yeah.
able to sleep and you get up the next day and start the whole circus again.
The sleep
Yeah,
is
yeah.
terrible. Yes, it's terrible. Yeah. And there's a symptom that feels really strange for everybody who's gone through burnout is, how come I sleep but I don't wake up rested? That's
Mm,
the fatigue that is very prominent in burnout. You don't rest, even though you sleep. You get a week off, again, you feel really tired.
mm,
So I also was on the verge of burnout a couple of years ago, and for me, the wake up call, or the wake up, let's say, symptom, was the fact that I didn't like my job. I
mm.
didn't want to get out of bed and go to work, and that was really weird for me. What is happening? I usually love my job. I live and breathe, for my job. What is happening? So that was the dimension that I said, the second dimension, which was the detachment from our work. We have really negative feelings or cynicism towards our job.
Mm, exactly. I also remember you're triggering me and I'm remembering sort of my experience. I was working in a corporate office and vivacious and interested and involved. I was in the training department,
Yeah.
but slowly but surely withdrawing and even shutting my office door. I couldn't handle any more stimulation or people coming to me. I could barely cope. And I remember the day it all fell apart was
Mm,
when my colleague was talking to me about something and I was staring at him. He was speaking English. I
wow.
couldn't process what he was
Wow.
saying. And that's when the
Yeah.
whole,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
thing
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't realize, but funny things happen. I was very lucky that our HR manager, I went to see her about something else, and she just took one look at me and said, "You're going home right now." And see, overachiever, perfectionist, I was great. I'll go home on Thursday. I'll be back on Monday. And she said, "We'll see." And six months,
Of course.
I was, and as you said earlier, never again. And this is why I don't want people using this word lightly.
Exactly.
Be super stressed, you can be overstressed. But if it goes to burnout, it's a whole other dimension, and
Exactly.
you do not want to go there if you can avoid it. And hopefully tonight we'll give people some tips on how to
Yeah. Yeah.
nip it in the bud, realize what's happening, and pull yourself back from the edge because the recovery is long and hard, and you're
Yeah.
always vulnerable. I felt for many years, about 10 years, that the adrenaline button, if I got
Yeah.
one little bit excited, that button was broken and I couldn't shut it off. But very
Mm,
quickly go into overdrive again, and
yeah. 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 Yeah.
don't want that. We want to. Are there any sort of top of mind things people should watch for that you could just sort of list right now? Some symptoms people should sort of notice, like as you said, sleeping, this
Yeah.
thing from your job. What other things
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
what? You're
Sleeping.
already there.
Yeah, the fatigue, that you feel, and then you never get rested. Um, Also, looking around and seeing, we talked about work, that is workplace stress,
Mm,
but also burnout is the accumulation of
mhm.
stress. It's not
Exactly.
only the extra project that you had or the extra workload. Look in a more holistic way, like a 360 way. Look around in your life. What else was happening? Always, when I talk to people with burnout, there was also more than one thing's happening. They had lost somebody that they loved, so they experienced grief, or
Mm.
they got a divorce, or they changed house, or they had financial problems, or they got a new baby in the family. Whatever, there
Mm.
was something happening, or somebody was sick and they had to take care of them. There was stress from many areas in their lives, and they couldn't, of course you have to be on alert there on these, very delicate phase in your life. They couldn't find a way that they can manage the stress. And one thing that we don't know is that there's difference between stressor and stress.
Mhm.
Stressor is all these things that we just said, like a deadline, a project, financial problem, somebody's sick. This is the stressor, the trigger that creates the stress. The stress is what happens in our body. It's a physiological shift. So even though the project is done, it doesn't mean that the stress is done. Even
Exactly.
though you took care of the let's say the medical problems or the financial issues in your family or the relationship issues, it doesn't mean that the stress is gone unless we do something in order to release it. Otherwise, it's just stored in our body. So if we move from one stressor to another, the stress accumulates. It
Mm.
doesn't go anywhere. It
And
stays
it's
in.
that word accumulation, that's the
It's the
problem.
accumulation.
It's like the frog in the hot water. You don't, as the water's building up, you don't realize what's happening, and that's why you
Mm.
suddenly, so I think tonight we want to really talk about this self-awareness and connection
Yeah,
to the body
yeah,
and your mind,
exactly.
and being tuned in and listening to what your
Yes.
body's telling you and your mind, so that you can, yeah, nip it in the bud and not be unconscious to what's happening. Because once you've flipped to burnout, yeah,
Yeah. I want to show something
yeah, good.
which is let me see where I have it. So I created a guide with symptoms of burnout.
Mm.
Because everybody's talking about burnout, nobody exactly knows what is burnout. So I created this guide, and it was here, but now where is it?
Just a minute ago.
Yeah, just a minute ago. Where are you? Anyway, I'm gonna find it. And burnout guide. All right, let's see. Yes, that's it. All right. So that's the guide here. So what I want to show is that the risk factors, you were talking about the signs, yeah?
Mm.
So the risk factors. So I created this infographic where you see the external risk factors. And of course, it's work. We don't want to dismiss that. Yes, the high workload, also dysfunctional workplace dynamics, little or no control over your work, monotonous job, unclear job expectations, of course, or personal external factors, lack of support, work life balance, financial stress, transition or loss.
Mhm.
But also, we're going to talk also today about the internal factors, which is what we said before, a little bit of perfectionism, a little bit of a people pleasing, avoidance, no stress management, little or no self care. So,
Low
this is
low self-esteem, I think all of these
no
points are important.
external locus of control. When we get
Exactly.
into the victimhood, other people will change my life. I'm not going to do anything. I will wait for them to
Yeah,
change the circumstances of our life. So these, that's why I said, let's take a look on a 360 angle perspective and see what else is contributing in our burnout, in a situation where we accumulate stress instead of dealing with it.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to share this, of course, in the comments. I'm going to share this guide so people can find out more about that. So, can you make the connection? Can you create the bridge between burnout and ADHD now? What is ADHD?
Yeah, let's talk about ADHD,
Yes.
and, I'm thinking, as we're thinking about burnout and I'm reminding myself, I think so here's a kind of non-ADHD person, they're going off to work, and let's say you're at baseline level.
Yeah.
Our baseline is up here. So we start ordinary day already in what might be seen as a slightly highly stressed, hypervigilant state. So,
Mm.
uh, and if you think about having ADHD as a little child, 3-year-old, 5-year-old, so on and so on, you are constantly going through life a little bit out of sync with all of
Mhm.
those around you. And, you're trying your hardest, you're trying your best, but you kind of secretly know that you're a little bit not quite the same. And
Yes.
and you're not quite sure why, because half the time you're good and half the time you're in sync and half of the time you're not. We're all we feel slightly different. As a little kid, of course, then you're told off, you were naughty, you did that stupid, what did you do? Where's your socks? Where's your bag? What have you gotten? And we're constantly making silly mistakes, and this continues throughout life. We're called careless or lazy when we're not,
Or
because
too much.
but then you've got you're too much, you're too noisy, you're too, loud, you talk too much,
Yes.
you take up too much space. It's constant criticism. And
Yes.
as you start to head into adulthood, you're like a snowball effect. You're carrying all the debris of all these harsh criticisms or subtle criticisms or not again, Jacinta. So
Mm.
we're internalizing all of that. We're feeling not quite as right. And so we're entering, adulthood in this state of mind. And it's just natural for us to be always in this heightened state. So that's one part of why would, there'd be this propensity to head into burnout. The other
Yeah.
thing is we're adrenaline junkies.
Mm.
We get a kick out of that adrenaline pump. It gets us going. It helps us motivate. It pings our brain because our brains are sometimes not so fired up. So we
Yeah.
drama, excitement, differences. Sometimes we talk about these hyperactive ones. They're driving the Maserati, but no brakes, and that kind of, those sorts of traits of ADHD.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
we're spontaneous. We love seeing things. We love trying new things. We're adventurous. We're mavericks, innovators. So you've got this kind of personality, or that, I don't know if personality is possibly wrong. You've got these traits.
Yeah.
You're interested in everything. And you've also got this negativity from childhood. And you're
Mm.
constantly, then you've got the perfectionism that you know so well in your clients and
Yeah.
so on. We've
Yeah.
got that intensely as well, because we're always trying, we're not quite right. But if I try a little bit harder, if I maybe just spend one more hour on this presentation, maybe, well, you can already feel the energy building in the room right now. What's happening
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
a person?
Yeah.
This is just us being normal.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
add to that high-powered job, great job, a busy job, you start getting more responsibilities, but then, some of your ADHD traits are making you slip up or you're struggling a bit. We'll get onto that in a second, but you can see that we're already in a much heightened state of being physically, mentally, pushing ourselves, driven, and so when the workload gets really huge, like you're
Mm.
saying, it gets out of
Mm.
control, you're in a toxic environment, other things happen, and we know that companies ask too much of us. We always
Yeah.
need to say yes and keep, there's so much coming at us all the time. I think all of us recognize that. So for the ADHD that started off already hyper alert,
Mm.
hyper,
Mm.
with all these negative thoughts, pushing, perfectionism in the way, um,
Yeah. Exactly.
you can see how this could easily fall into burnout. Yeah.
What you described about this girl, little girl in her childhood, being with her ADHD brain, but then nobody understands her. You reminded me of a client that she very vividly described some moments, many moments actually in her childhood, where she couldn't understand her big feelings and her overactivity, hyperactivity of your brain, and she was just going with it.
Mm.
Then her environment was not able to catch up with that, to follow up with her. So she told me that, her father, when she was having one of her, like extra explosions, your father would look at her, let's call her Maria,
Mm.
and see, and he would be like, "Oh, Maria,"
Mm.
with a pity face, and then she still remember that, and see what she got from that experience was the embarrassment that she would feel, the shame, exactly, because her father made her feel, without of course him doing it intentionally,
No, of
uh,
course not. No.
of
Yeah.
course, but that she believed that she was something that nobody could handle. She was too much. She was out of the ordinary world, and she would carry that her whole life, not knowing that this is ADHD. This is just a different way of functioning.
So you're touching on two things. First of all, ADHD is feel everything very, very intensely.
Yes, yes.
So, and I've tried to catch myself, and I listen to the language I use, or friends, family that are the same. And something's, oh my God, it's a tragedy. Oh, it's a disaster. And we speak and we feel it. And I was so frustrated. Not,
Yeah.
oh, it was a little bit irritating. Oh, I had a nice day.
Mm,
And I
mm.
tried to do that as a joke one day to see if I could tone myself down. And I'm like, oh, I can't live like this.
Yeah.
It's too beige.
It's
So we live
boring.
a massive, colorful, vivid life. However,
Mm.
those big emotions cost energy. They require energy and they can be draining.
Oh
So there's
yeah.
two elements. We feel everything big, whether it's super happy or
Yeah.
super sad and
Yeah.
frustrated.
Yeah.
Okay, both require energy. And there's this sort of lack of perspective. So
Mm.
I could have something go wrong with my computer, that the technology doesn't work, and throw a tantrum sort of thing and get very frustrated. But that could be the same as a disaster happens and I have to, like, and it's out of balance, it's out
Yeah.
of proportion, it's out of perspective.
Yeah.
And what I try and help with my clients, I had to learn it myself as well. It's like we need to somehow have a way of understanding what's happening and recognizing it, and then being a choice. We can be as big as we want, we can be as angry as we whatever. But do I want that emotion driving me in
Mm.
control, derailing my life, making life difficult at work, difficult with my colleagues, difficult in relationships? Or do I want to understand that emotion a little bit and have this switched on, my prefrontal cortex, bit more in control?
Yeah.
So I'm not at the mercy of my emotions.
Yes.
I learn how to manage them. And I think that's the lesson, because in your story before, that father
Mm.
skated, just dismissed this
Yes.
girl. And that teaches us not to honor our feelings, like they're not
Yeah.
real, but these are real.
Yeah, of
We're
course.
allowed to feel it. We can call it for what it is, and then we're at choice. What do we do next?
Exactly. And that was what he didn't teach her. He didn't teach her the emotional regulation that she needed.
Or even that it's valid. It's
And it's
valid what
valid.
you're feeling.
Yes.
That's the first point, isn't it?
Yeah.
As a
Yeah.
psychologist, yeah.
Yeah.
That was real what you felt,
Yeah.
and you get taught that's not real, etc. And then, of course, then we come into this part. Well,
Yeah.
what are you going to do with that? How are you going to self-manage? Because if we know the emotions are like a great big elephant,
Yeah. Yeah.
they're
Yeah. Yeah.
so big, they're so huge, they're so powerful, and the rider on the
Yeah.
top is like about this small, and that's your rational brain, and you want that rational brain in control.
Exactly. Instead
Yeah,
of it manage the emotion managing you, you manage the emotion, you process the emotion, you validate it, and then you give it the space that it wants. Yeah, exactly.
exactly. That is beautifully
Yeah.
said. That's exactly what, and this is where, people like yourself, psychologists, therapists, are helping to learn these skills and recognize. And just one other little thing that we
Yeah.
need to realize as ADHD is, getting back to our emotions are big, raw. Also have to learn that our emotions have an impact. So if I
Mm.
fly off the handle or get frustrated or bang something at work, other people that maybe not as emotionally colorful as me, that can be quite disturbing.
Mhm.
And I know, people in my life have said, "Oh, why are you so angry?" And I'm like, "I'm not angry, I'm just passionate." But they had a different level of emotionality, so
Yeah.
it made them feel insecure and anxious. So
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
another thing to learn. What is
Mm.
the impact of all this energy on others? And do I can be like that if I want, but
Yeah.
maybe I don't want to.
Very
Maybe I
good
want
point.
to be fitting quite nicely in the team, etc. And I think it's part of that maturing, learning how to, guide the emotions, that I'm in
Exactly.
control, not the emotions.
When we were discussing that topic, on our preparation calls, when we were meeting the first time, I think it was, clear in our discussion that we wanted to talk a lot about shame. For me, I think it's the root cause
That's true.
of ADHD burnout, because it's it starts in childhood, when you feel that you are strange, weird, too
Mm.
much, too dramatic, you're silly, you make silly mistakes, or too noisy, or you're too much energy, whatever, too much. So then we internalize that, and since, especially back then, nobody could diagnose it, or nobody could manage or deal that, then
Mm.
we learn that we are the weirdos, the weird people, the outliers.
Yes.
Um, and that is shame. There's something wrong with me. That's what shame says. Something wrong with me. When we know that feeling, then we know when we have that feeling, and we have, of course, the consequent thoughts and beliefs about ourselves, the self-talk is really similar. Like, I always make mistakes, I am
Mm.
the one that is responsible, I am the
I'm
one that.
stupid. I'm so dumb.
Yeah,
Who do
exactly.
I think I am? They're going to
Yes.
sack me. I'm just an idiot yet again. Can't you do
Yeah,
anything right? And we're
it's me
so,
again.
so,
Yes.
so
So if
cruel.
we take that shame together with the adrenaline that you said before, then that's why the most common coping mechanism for people with ADHD is the mechanism of overcompensation,
Mm.
where overworking, workaholism
Mhm.
has direct relation with ADHD and burnout. So we're overworking, we're perfectionist, because we're trying to make up for the idea we have that we have made mistakes. We're the silly, the stupid, the slow, the fast, or the too much, or whatever. So
And
we're
you know
trying.
what else? You know what else is running? Nobody else, all of you guys without ADHD don't do this. You don't make mistakes, you're
No,
perfect, you don't struggle like we do.
exactly.
Everything's easy for you.
Yeah.
That's the other movie running in our head.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Which
Total
is the comparison, like I am wrong, you are right all the time. And
all
then,
the time. Exactly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then we overcompensate. We are trying too hard.
Yeah.
And I think this is where we made the connection that
Yeah.
shame, working too hard and overcompensating, then it makes sense why we have the ADHD burnout.
Mhm. Yeah, and just a few other little things perhaps on the ADHD psyche is so you go through life and you start figuring and the thing is most of us didn't even know that we had ADHD, these
Yeah,
are the like I got diagnosed later in life.
yeah,
Um, so you don't want to seem dumb. So I watch now because I'm analyzing, as you're watching what the people that do it well, what are they doing? So an ADHD person feels like you've got to figure it all out yourself. You don't
yeah,
dare to ask because you're showing
exactly.
you're stupid. And half of us go through life thinking we're stupid, only to find out we're highly intelligent, which is why we've done well throughout our life.
Hmm.
So you don't dare to ask. And what you do then is you start figuring it out. So let's
Yeah.
say I can't figure out how to use some technology. Instead of just going to my colleague or going to somebody, listen, how does this work? Quick, boom, boom, boom. Because we
Mm.
can learn very quickly. No, we don't do that. We go and we'll watch all these YouTube videos and we'll read up about it. We will study it to
Yes.
almost a degree in it. And we've wasted all that time. So instead of doing the job, we're figuring out how to use the technology. Yet
Yeah, because they're not asking for help.
we're not asking for help. We're too embarrassed.
It is exactly. We are already a burden our whole lives to other people. Am I going to ask for help? No, hell no. I'm not going to ask for help. I am going to do it by myself.
And I should know this because everyone else knows it.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
now I'm realizing, well, as I'm starting to grow up, it's like they don't know it. They say, I don't know, I've got to ask for help.
Yeah.
And they demand help and they
Yeah.
take standing there, but
Yeah.
we're cringing away in the corner going, oh my God, I should know this, I should, do. It's not helpful. And then
Yeah.
it feeds into this whole shame element. And then, you feel like you didn't produce the right thing or you're off the wrong tangent. It's another thing, like someone at work, like let's say your boss gives you a project or involved in something and everyone's coming at it from different angles and you think you should know everything and be perfect at everything. And perhaps they didn't give you proper instructions.
Yeah.
And it's about saying, no, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Excuse me, explain that clearly. I don't know the outcome. I don't know the clarity around what I should be doing, etc., etc. So, look, a great example. Someone said to me once. She said, "Jacinta, I'm thinking about this client of mine," and she said, "I asked him to go and find out one piece of technical information." She said he took ages, and I don't understand. It should have taken 10 minutes, and he
Mm.
came back the next day with a full report. And she said, "Why did he do that?" And she had lots of examples. She was his boss. And I said, "Yeah, okay." So the ADHD brain has gone vroom,
Yeah.
overworked, and all these things we've discussed. The boss was a bit annoyed because she didn't want 4 pages. She just wanted that much information.
Mm.
So
But
it's
she didn't say.
sorry.
But she didn't say that she wanted that bit.
The thing because she thought da, 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 and I'm thinking, this is some of the things I do with corporates. It's like if you know the person and you start to learn about each other and each other's way of brain working, you can say, "Hey, Fred, can you find out that technical information? I'm predicting it'll probably take you about 20 minutes max. I only want like 4 lines. You
Yeah.
don't have to investigate further because
Yeah.
the ADHD, being a perfectionist, will go to, it's not necessary. And
Yeah.
we're thinking about burnout. If we're spending our time doing all unnecessary work,
Yeah.
it's only adding to our work stress, our workload, and it was not asked.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
that kind of right, and so I'm, trying to train people to make sure you've got the parameters clear. What is really expected from your boss or from your colleague or from your client, so that you don't spend too long doing the wrong things and adding to your workload. Um,
Yeah. But I
and
can
then,
also
and then
see.
to ask, don't keep imagining should know this because the smart people just ask. The non-ADHD. So learn. We can learn from that and start taking on those behaviors.
Well, the smart people and non-perfectionist people, because
Yes,
either somebody has ADHD or not, if you're a perfectionist, you don't want to ruin the facade that
exactly.
I know it all. So either you have ADHD or not, you're not going to ask because I'm going to figure it out myself. I'm going to impress everybody. I'm going to do the extra work and I'm going to get all the accolades and all the rewards and trophies, whatever.
Yep.
So we also now discover all these people pleasing uh,
Yes,
tendencies that we want to be perfect. We don't want to, test the waters. We don't want to ruin the harmony, and we
rock
don't want to
boat.
give anybody the option to judge us or to question us.
Yeah, yeah.
So somebody would think that if I ask, how much do you want me to write on this, question?
Mm.
Or how much time do you want me to spend, then we question ourselves that maybe other people will question us and they will think like, oh, come on, how come you don't know that? So
Exactly.
we're not gonna give them the chance to do that. So we're like, okay, we take our stuff and we go and uh, lock ourselves in our cage
Exactly.
and we go into the rabbit hole and search and search and search
Exactly.
all
And
this
and the
wasted energy.
anxiety I'm sure you have with your client, the anxiety that's going on in your tummy as you're trying to hope that you're doing the right thing and
Is
you're
it
trying
enough?
to achieve this perfect and it's not enough and a bit more and a bit more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And you can see how
absolutely.
that adds to the stress response in your body. And anyway, so on and so on. So these are the
Yeah,
traits,
yeah, yeah.
these are the characters, this is how this soup starts to mix around. You can see the relationship between what you're working with
Yeah,
perfectionism and so on. Very
it is
common.
a roller coaster. That's why we wanted to
Yeah,
talk about that. It is a roller coaster.
exactly. So what do we do to prevent it? How can we learn to what tips have we got for everyone? Shall we share?
Yeah, sure.
You're the expert. You tell because I'm looking. Oh, we've got 20 minutes, but
Yeah, yeah, we're good. We're good. We're good.
I'm
But
being
also, before we
yeah,
go to the prevention,
yeah.
something that we also discussed before we jump into this live, what's the difference between somebody who has ADHD and somebody who thinks that they have ADHD, but they don't? They
Well, they
have
have
ADHD trait.
ADHD traits. They're
Trait.
exhibiting ADHD traits of, brain fog, as talked before, time management issues, poor planning, poor decision making, forgetting everything,
How do they know?
chaotic. How do you know? There's a good distinction, as you said earlier, people saying, oh, yeah, we've all got ADHD now. No, you are born with ADHD. It's a brain wiring.
Yes.
And if you're under stress or you've got all sorts of situations going on in your life and your brain is sort of in a bad state and lack of sleep and all sorts of things going on, you can start to exhibit ADHD traits.
Yes.
Now, how might a therapist or a coach recognize the difference? Once someone has healed from the situation that created this state, these traits will disappear to normal level, just a
Mm,
normal forgetfulness or normal what the rest of you do.
yeah.
But if you have ADHD, you may come into calmer waters, but
Mm,
all your ADHD behaviors, traits, and beings and stuff, it remains,
it
and
remains.
it's a constant life journey to learn about self-management, learn what's working, find special tools and tricks. There's lots of things you can do to improve. That's what I do with my clients all the time. But that's an important distinction.
Yes.
And you have ADHD if you go back and look at your childhood school reports because
Yes.
there were suggestions there already, even if the teachers didn't know it was that.
Yes.
They find it hard to concentrate. They talk too much in class. If only he would sit still, da 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 da.
Exactly.
And that's the key difference. So
Mm,
if there's anyone who's listening to this who is a therapist and hasn't done much with this, that's how you can kind of check a little bit what happened
yeah.
in childhood. It's ADHD is not something that just appears out of nowhere.
Exactly. And a question that popped up now for our live, Vikas is asking whether watching mental health videos could be causing me to believe that I have issues like childhood trauma or perfectionism or maybe ADHD. I'm adding that here.
Mm,
Or do I genuinely have mental health concerns? And I think your answer is related to that. Like if there's consistency in a pattern, yes, it's yours, but you cannot copy it from a video. You cannot get
right.
it from
Can't
just,
catch
it's not a trend. Mental health issues are not a trend. It's a
exactly.
genuine experience.
Exactly. And you
Yeah.
can talk yourself into anything, but you can't catch it. And I think if there is some concerns, it might be a good idea to go and talk to somebody, but you can't.
Exactly.
But often we will look at videos, go, oh, that's like me, that's like me. There'll be recognition.
Yeah.
And you might want to say, well, let's see if that's true. You may question that, test it out, get the evidence for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But again, take it as learning, but don't take it on board as something, oh my God, there's something wrong with me. If
Exactly.
you do
Exactly.
feel like that, please reach out to someone like Vasya to get a check-in, like to get some help.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Exactly.
don't want
So let's
anyone.
go back to the prevention. Let's see what we can do.
Mm.
Uh,
Off you
for,
go.
for me, the main thing is shame. Like this is
Yeah,
for me the root of everything. Even
okay.
when I'm talking about perfectionism, I'm talking about how can I shift this mindset you have from I am not enough to I am enough. How can I help you feel that you have everything you need and there's nothing wrong about you being a human being?
Mm,
Because shame is about us as a personality, as an identity, as a human
mm,
being.
exactly.
Um, so the first thing that I definitely would recommend in our work in prevention, but also in recovery. It's the
Yes,
same thing. Huh? Work on self acceptance and self compassion. Instead of,
absolutely.
yeah, instead of beating ourselves up, we didn't do it as fast, or we were too fast, or we were too much, or whatever. I mean, we always have a reason to judge ourselves. Instead of
And
going there,
yeah, and I would just sort of add a sort of layer of ADHDness on it as well. Definitely, ADHDers are excessively hard on themselves,
yeah,
and kindness, loving
yeah,
self-regard,
yeah,
compassion, gentleness is the best way to get your ADHD brain out of a cycle, out of, that
exactly,
negative spiral. So
exactly,
what you're
exactly.
saying is so, and it's even more important for an ADHD brain. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And that's something that we can practice only when we know really well the ADHD traits, only when we know, that what is happening with us, that it's normal, it's just a different way of
Mm.
thinking and functioning in life. There's nothing better or worse than other people's brain. It's just a different way. So when
And
we know really well and validate ourselves.
validate yourself and open your eyes and
Yeah,
recognize every, you know this from working with all the people you work with. Everyone's got something. They
yeah,
are
of
not
course.
all perfect. They don't have it all together. And
We are
just
all work in progress.
exactly. And just
Yeah,
like you, the ADHD, and maybe you have a few quirks this way, you're fabulous this way. So it's about being truthful. I say to my clients, yeah,
yeah,
okay, you maybe messed up on that, but you did that, and that really well. So
yeah,
come on, what's the evidence? Let's list the truth and start getting true
exactly,
self-esteem for yourself.
exactly.
Because you're not all bad and you're not all perfect.
Yeah,
Human,
yeah.
you're fabulous how you are. And that's really
Christine,
nice when we sort of have some fun in the sessions, it's like, "No, no, no, let's do a bit of truth telling here." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, okay, I did do that well. Yeah, my boss did compliment me on that, and yeah, and then
exactly,
start
exactly.
wiring that and start being true to yourself in the moment.
Yes, yeah, in the moment, in the
Yeah,
moment.
and the
Christine Neff is talking about self-compassion, and one of the first things that she says is about mindfulness, be in the present moment, instead of judging yourself about the past mistakes or being scared about the future mistakes. Just be in the present moment. What
yeah,
is happening now, without any external comparisons? Where are you now? What are you doing? And what matters? That's the only thing.
absolutely right. And for my ADHD is when they feel that ping as they're having an emotional reaction. The first job is get the physical system back on track.
Yes.
Bring it back into the moment. Breathing deeply. It sounds silly, but we've got a thing. Hit pause. Hit the pause button. Stop this spinning out of control in the moment. Come
Yeah.
back to the present moment. Get grounded. Use a mindfulness little technique, and you want to get your brain switched on, and you want this self-talk that's going "Zzz, no, I'm here right now at work. I just made one little mistake and now I can fix it." And it's
Yeah.
getting really, you want your rational brain back online, and by
Yeah.
what's actually happening. And as soon as you get that overreaction under control, this clicks back and you can start thinking again. And
Yeah.
I like you're training yourself. But what we do, of course, is ping, run the old movies again and again, wiring ourselves, spinning ourselves out of control. For what? And so
Yeah.
I hope tonight people can go away and think, oh yeah, I don't need to do that cascade anymore.
It's the instant gratification, the adrenaline that drives us there.
Yeah.
Um, I was talking with a friend of mine that also knows life with ADHD, and she told me, like, I asked, like, works for you?
Mm.
And she said to me that when I realized that the ping, you say, what I do is I do something with my senses, because
Mm.
that gives me immediately a sense of reward, as a
Yes.
pleasant feeling. So I either rub my earlobes or maybe my vagus nerve, or I
Oh,
do
good.
something tactile. So with something tactile, with the senses, with a touch. So she already figured out that I can bypass this system of the instant gratification, the adrenaline, by giving to myself something that I already feel works.
Good, and you're already getting the feel-good factor. This
Yeah,
is great. That's a good one, actually. That's something I
yeah,
don't have in my arsenal of tricks. So thank
yeah,
that person. That's a really good. And yeah, and it's the thing of with I used to get called, "Oh, you're such a drama queen," but it wasn't until I learned about ADHD, I was like, "I'm trying to ping up the dopamine that's lacking." And there's
exactly.
something in this drama. And I was thinking also about if I'm busy beating myself up and stuck in this spin, I don't actually have to face this little problem that's sitting on my screen.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to address the real issue, which is, gosh, I've
Mhm.
got a problem here. I've got to figure out how to write this, I
Mhm.
don't know, whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It's like a default system. We get the juice, we get the adrenaline, we get the
Mm.
dopamine kick, and then, oh, we're exhausted, so we have to go and, recover, and we have to go and tell everyone about it. And in the meantime, we're not addressing the real issue. I'm not quite sure what to do here, and I don't know who to ask for help, or I'm too
Mm.
ashamed to ask for help. So if we start figuring out what the intentions are behind our behavior, then we can start coming to better solutions
Yeah.
to how to
Exactly.
help ourselves out of it. And that's what I love as well, this
Mhm.
self-truthfulness. But again, that can only happen if you focus on curiosity. Oh, what's happening right now? So I'm not going to go off and beat myself up.
Yeah. Yeah. Just
Good,
stay
what's
here.
happening right now?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
can I learn? What can I do? I can ground myself. What
Yeah.
is the real issue going on?
Yeah.
I need to ask for help. Oh, anxiety. But I can learn to ask for help. That will get me out of this quicker. And it's
Exactly.
training yourself to think in this way. And in fact, it's quite fun for the ADHD brain to puzzle out the solution. They like that as well. But
Mhm.
puzzling out to a positive solution
Yeah.
rather than going down to this negativity, that of a lifetime of negativity is your default, actually.
Yeah. And sometimes we have to do a little bit of taking from my perspective, a little bit of deeper work,
Mm,
healing ourselves from
mm,
the trauma that caused this negative self-talk. You
exactly.
said before, I see myself as the drama queen. Or I remember a client of mine that he always called herself stupid. I'm so stupid. I'm so stupid.
Mm,
I'm so stupid.
mm.
So we have to go a little bit to the past and do a little bit of a healing from that
Definitely.
experience that made us believe in this narrative that we are
Exactly.
the drama queens or we will never figure it out. There's a term called learned hopelessness.
Exactly. Yeah.
We need to learn how to get out of there because sometimes we feel like there's nothing I can do. This is who I am. I am the troubled one, and
Exactly.
there's no solution for me. In order to jump to, I can see the solution or I can figure out the solution, we have to learn how to also unlearn the learned hopelessness and start feeling, experiencing self-trust. I can do it in my own way, but I
Exactly.
can do it. I can trust my resources, my skills, my personality. I have it. I have it in me already.
Exactly. And all of our clients that we see, right, they've got a lifetime of career success and things they've done well, relationship
Yeah,
success. It's
yeah,
all the evidence that
yeah,
we totally, as an ADHD, we just negate that. We do not even give it.
yeah,
And it's like,
yeah,
no, 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 no. Let's put all that good stuff right on the table and
yeah,
start. But definitely this, and as well with a lot of trauma, because of course that's
yeah,
I'm a coach, so I don't go into. I would refer anyone
yeah,
um,
yeah,
but definitely there's healing to be done at that
yeah,
level. That's very
yeah,
important.
exactly.
Yeah.
Also, Christine Neff, who talks about self compassion, she has a second element of self compassion, which is the common humanity. So when
Yeah.
he said that I messed up, huh? Common humanity says, who hasn't messed up?
I know
Everyone messes up.
exactly.
We all mess up. You mess up. I mess up. We all mess up. And it's part of the human experience.
Yeah.
And we embrace it. We embrace the messing up. We own it. Yes, I made so many mistakes. I own it. That led me here where I am today and made
Exactly.
me the person that I am. So this is also a new perspective there. We're not hiding from the messing up, but we are owning it.
Exactly. And it's a beautiful thing. It's like, yeah, I messed up like everyone else. So I'm part
Yeah.
of the
Who
human
hasn't?
family, right? Rather than I'm out here different, I'm like everyone else, we mess up. Yeah, and again, you hear the compassion and
Yeah,
love and
yeah,
curiosity. Oh, okay, that happened, and we move on. And I think also a bit of humor in this sometimes that, oh yeah, did it again, never mind, pick it up, off we go.
yeah,
Like a lot of
yeah.
this, and I don't know about non-ADHDers, but for ADHDers, everything's really bad. It was terrible. And it's like, no, it's not. It's no big deal. Oh
Um,
God, a friend of mine said recently, take a chill pill, Jacinta. And I'm like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. Yes, she's so right. It's not a big deal. We fixed it in 5 minutes.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Thing, just everyone does this. It's chill. Yeah.
But it's because, of course, we see things from a different perspective and we think that it's bigger than what it is.
And that's why this, tonight it's about talking about understanding yourself,
Yeah,
understanding how you're wired, learning some techniques to help yourself shift from that state to this state,
yeah,
knowing that you can do this. Like you said before, you're not helpless. There is so much that you can control within yourself.
yeah,
And
yeah,
building that sense of self resilience, self belief, self confidence, I think, and that's I think part of our job that we enjoy. Yeah, seeing,
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
Journaling helps a lot. I mean, I think it incorporates everything that we just said, being in the present moment,
mm,
being true to ourselves, digging in, processing old experiences, turning negative beliefs into positive or helpful ones. I think
yeah,
this is a very useful practice.
yeah. Good. Do you do that every day?
I do that. Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm
Yeah.
ADHD. I do it sometimes, and I forget, then I forget, then I forget, and then I
Yeah.
start again. So
Yeah.
yes, absolutely, highly recommended.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree. What else have we got on our list?
I think,
Mm,
yeah, we also said about boundaries, and by boundaries, not setting on other people boundaries, but setting our own boundaries. How much time do I want to spend on something? Instead
exactly.
of choosing how much time I will spend on it and energy, I get to say, well, on this project, I will spend 3 hours. I don't want to
And that's
overspend.
enough.
That's
Exactly.
enough.
That's
Yeah.
enough. That's absolutely true. And again, that thing of boundaries, it's like, well, my calendar, my agenda is completely full. There
Yeah.
is no space to take on a new project responsibility. And I have to say no. And I have to learn to say no. And
Mm,
that's very hard for ADHDers. We're always curious. We want the new thing to start. People
yeah.
pleasing, like you said, getting involved in too many things. So it's important to know what, and there's it's energy, right? What you're physically capable of doing.
Yeah.
You need balance in your life, so it can't be all 24/7 working. That's all very
No.
unhealthy. We know that. And learning to say, "No, I can't. I can't. This is no. This is my point now."
Yeah. And
That
and this is really really important what you're saying, and I want to make also bring some compassion. Maybe in the beginning, it's not going to be easy to tune into your body and see how much energy you have because you've never done it,
no,
because
exactly,
it was always very intuitive and very experiential. So the
exactly.
learning my body and listening to my body, also it's a practice that takes time. It's okay. You just start listening and then at some point you're going to be more tuned into that, but it's okay.
Absolutely, and we really have to stress that it's
Yeah,
learning. It's
it's learning.
learning skills. It's first awareness and knowledge, developing skills, and skills take time, and you can do this. And just because it doesn't work the first time or the second time or the third time, like learning to play tennis or anything, you have to build the muscle memory and the muscle strength. And I just love it. The first time that I realized something inside had shifted in me, I had a
Mhm.
disaster. I started beating myself up, and then I went, "That's not true." And I went, "Oh my goodness, a different dialogue." It was
Wow.
amazing, and it feels so
Wow.
great. So if I can do it, anyone can do it. Okay, I'm looking
I'm
at
with
this
you.
time, Basia. My goodness.
All right. So where can they find you and how you can help? You say your own, agenda and your own services, and then I'm going to finish with mine, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Okay. Well, they can find me probably on LinkedIn. My name, Jacinta Noonan. I have a website, Platform B, and I also have jacintanoonan.com. If you probably link things easily. I have a coaching practice, like I said, and all these sorts of topics we cover. I have, I work in blocks of sessions. People can choose different packages. They can find out all about it on my website.
Perfect.
Move on. I'm
Uh,
not. I'm not good at talking about myself. So let's tell me what you do.
all the beautiful things you said today talk about you. So you've done your job. I think everybody who's just listened to you today, they understood already how much knowledge and how much wisdom you have about that, and about ADHD and how much you can help them. So I really admire you, how much in depth you know the topic and how you can help. So
My
happy.
my soul journey is to help, and I love it when I see my
Yeah,
clients lost
yeah,
my way.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
want
yeah.
people. Yeah, I've done all the reading on this, so I want to teach you quickly so you can move on.
Exactly,
Don't have.
exactly. Yeah.
This is our thing that we love, right? Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I shared already in the comments my burnout symptoms guide. I put together all the symptoms, the dimensions that we mentioned before, the risk factors, and it's a free guide. People can get it from the link. Also, at the end of the month, September, I'm also hosting a free webinar, From Depleted to Replenished,
Oh, good.
tools for energy, regaining your energy and your productivity amidst burnout. So I'm going to give that burnout webinar at the end of the month. Of course, if somebody wants to participate, they can find more about that.
Great.
But generally, my passion is about perfectionism and burnout, and how we can live the life that we deserve. It's life is not only going from one mental health struggle to another. Life is much more than this, and we do have a healthy part in us waiting to blossom.
Exactly. And it's about realizing we can get back in the driver's seat.
Yeah,
We're in charge. Yeah.
absolutely,
You still have
absolutely,
your dramas, you still have your emotions, you still have the bad things happening, but you are now empowered to run your life
exactly.
and manage all of that. So great, lovely to see you.
I'm grateful for you being here and for this discussion we had, and of course all the previous discussions that led to
Yes,
this.
yes.
And yeah, maybe we can do that again.
Absolutely. There's so much more to discuss, so much fun to have. And yeah, I know lots of my network, if they're not able to make it tonight, and my clients are going to love hearing you. I think that workshop you've got coming up is absolutely something for them as well. So I'll be
Yeah,
telling them
yeah.
all about it. Great. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you. You too. Thank
And
you.
thank you. And thank you for everyone who watches.
Yeah, thank you everybody who was here and everybody who will watch it later. So, and of course, bombard us with your questions.
Oh, we love questions, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah, we love say
Bye.
bye bye.